Hello and welcome to an all-new Marvel cast, Explosion Network's hub of all things Marvel, a place to talk about everything MCU and beyond, from Avengers and Defenders to Phoenix and Crazy Horse. My name's Ashley Hobley, the Explosion Network's resident Lucky Pizza host. Joining me today, also been Ciaran Marchant.
Hey, Ashley, just you and me. I'm looking forward to talking about episode 3.
Yes.
To see if we've got a bullseye today.
Oh, no, I don't think there was any bullseyes in this episode. Ooh. There wasn't any.
Disappointing.
But maybe there was some sort of a kingpin. Moving on. This week's episode 3, Echoes, directed by Bert and Bertie, written by Katie Mathewson and Tanner Bean. After escaping a new threat, Clint and Kate joined forces against an expanding criminal conspiracy. Ciaran, what did you think of this week's episode of Hawkeye?
I thought overall this episode was really fun. I thought it was a really interesting take to continue going down Hawkeye's kind of hearing impairment and like kind of seeing how truly that affects him and just the not only the ramifications for him as a person, but then also seeing how that's used for not just kind of serious and dramatic effect, but also for comedic effect throughout the episode. So I think it was overall was done really well. I think I was a little disappointed by. I thought we would go in a direction of talking about Kate having to deal with some things, specifically killing people, because she at least murdered like one person in this episode.
Nah, they got out of that van perfectly fine.
No way they got out of that van. There's no way. Which I was a little bit with the extent of the explosion. I'm like, oh no, that person's dead. But it's kind of weird that they're just like she has no real reaction of.
Maybe that's what she was talking to him about over dinner, and he put his earpiece when he had his earpiece out.
I don't think so. I don't think her facial expressions or anything were matching to that, to be perfectly honest with you.
I don't know. Yeah, I like the episode a lot. I think they introduced a lot of good ideas and characters and stuff, and it kind of moving the world and also the story forward. But on that point, I think she is so focused on wanting to be a hero that I don't think that it's like she's kind of numb to it at this point, maybe, to a certain degree. You know how there's been so many events in the Marvel universe, it's like, killing somebody with a bow, they blow up. She was more focused on the blowing up the car than she was what happened to the people inside the van. Which
is, I don't know, I don't think that's a great quality to have in...
It's an interesting quality to have.
It's an interesting one, but I guess that depends, right? Is if that is on purpose, or if you are inferring that to try and
explain why,
duct tape, explain why that happened. And look, I hope in the coming episodes we get further explanation and further discussion on that. I get the feeling we're not going to.
I think we could.
I hope I'm wrong.
I think there's going to there's a lot of difference between, she shoots somebody and they die in front of her, and I shot a van, it blew up. I'm so busy in this car chase, I don't know what's happening. Like, it
was a big explosion.
It was a big explosion, but it was under the car, and I mean, the entire car didn't blow up.
It wasn't under the car. She stabbed it. It went into the grill of the car and exploded in the engine.
Yeah, but most of the explosion went underneath, it felt like.
No, because it smashed the glass and the fire came out of the glass of the cabin. That's fair.
Well, maybe I'm misremembering
it. Like, there was a decent amount of fire.
There was. But yeah, that car chase, that was really good. Well put together.
The camera work was...
Obviously, they were showing off a little at the start with the Children of Men shot of, like, in the car going around. I'm looking forward to the... I can't remember what the documentary series, making of series they do. But I'm looking forward to seeing how they did pull that off, because it was pretty seamless.
I thought the shot where the camera went outside with her and was, like, alongside her while she was facing backwards, I'm like, that's pretty fucking cool. That was a nice little touch. I think there's an interesting there was definitely them playing around and being like, look, even though it's a TV show, we're still going to push the envelope with what we can do with our camera work and our cinematography as a whole.
Yep. Okay, we got to showcase a bunch of trick arrows. The one that didn't look good was the Play-Doh arrow. Especially like the first time it was used.
Yeah.
Like when it first hits the windshield.
And it starts like bubbling. It's like...
Yep. Then they cut away and they come back and it looks fine. Because they actually put actual stuff on.
Yes, yeah. It did look a little bit like maybe that was a shot they didn't work very long on or didn't put that much time into.
Well, speaking of that,
special effects.
Did you think Hailee Steinfeld's face looked weird when they were jumping off the bridge? Did you notice that?
Yes, actually. Yeah.
I don't know. I think that was probably a stunt double and they've tried to deep fake or something.
Yeah, deep fake onto it. Yeah, that's... Yeah, now that you mention it, that was a little strange.
It was a little jarring, yeah.
It's
which is interesting because that's like one of the shots they use in the trailer, so it's like kind of weird. Yeah, but I guess important character that gets introduced in this episode is Echo, or her name Maya Lopez. They're called Echo in the comics. She's like obviously clearly the head of the Tracksuit Mafia. We get we start the episode with her and like going back to her as a young child. Obviously, it's established pretty quickly she's deaf. She's
and not just deaf. She's also an amputee. She's got
So Alaqua Cox, who plays her, is an amputee in real life. That isn't.
That's really cool. That's cool.
Yeah, so I assume that's why it was.
Not cool that she's an amputee, but it's cool that it's part of the character now, and they gave the opportunity to someone. That's what I meant.
That's what we all assumed you meant. But yeah, that was a really cool backstory and setting up her, like, again, and it, like, I'm sure that meant a lot to, like, people who are deaf and that kind of thing, especially people who are, like, born deaf and, like, went through school, like, in those kind of situations where, trying to deal with that kind of stuff. But yeah, obviously we get, we see her father, William, teaching her sign language and talking to her. She goes to a karate class and she's like watching people's moves and learning how to exploit them and that kind of stuff. But then we get, her dad's like, your uncle is going to pick you up after class. And we see a big white dude, fat fingers.
Well, we see the hand.
We see a hand of a big dude.
Yeah. Which is interesting, and I think the work done around him is interesting in the fact where I'm still unsure which direction they're going with that Kingpin. If they're
so canonically in the comics, she is the adopted daughter of the Kingpin.
Yes. No. That part I'm 1,000% behind. It was more the fact of, is this the same Kingpin from Daredevil, or is this a new Kingpin? Because listening to the voice that did sound very similar.
Yes.
To Daredevil's Kingpin, I think
to Vincent D'Onofrio. Yeah.
Yes, I think if it'll be interesting to once that's cleared up a little bit more, especially with how they were talking about him didn't quite match up later in the episode. Didn't quite match up with that Kingpin, considering the extent he had been throughout the Daredevil series, and he's a quite kind of well-known figure in that overall world. So it'll be interesting to see how they tackle that. If they keep Vincent on and keep him as the Kingpin, but scrap everything to do with Daredevil and just forget that happened.
Or not.
I was waiting for you to fill that in. Or I was going to say, or there's a new actor, or yeah.
I mean, it's been 3 years since the Netflix series finished. I don't know what the deal was, rights-wise.
Well, Netflix no longer owns it, or no longer has the rights to it. And I think the rumor was that everything but Daredevil was potentially being scrapped, and that Daredevil was the one that was people were still kind of either holding on hope for that was still going to be included, or that it was to be rumored to be featured here. And I think with what I presume is going to happen in this series. One way or another, it could be a good way for them to reintroduce Matt Murdock into the MCU and into this world.
Yeah, so here we go. Apparently, a Hollywood Reporter said, per the original deal between Marvel and Netflix for the series, the characters cannot appear in any non-Netflix series or films for at least 2 years following the cancellation of Daredevil. So, I mean, the rumors have been swirling around. Not only Kingpin coming into the series, but also, Daredevil showing up in Spider-Man. So, I assume they know that there's a pretty solid fan base that love those iterations of the characters and that kind of thing. So, and Marvel is the type of people to pull. I feel like if they were going to do Kingpin, they'd do Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin,
because his Kingpin was fantastic. His Kingpin was really good, and I think it would be, I guess it depends on what kind of version of Kingpin you're going for.
I mean, it's simple. You just say that whatever happened in Far From Home brought the Kingpin into this universe, and that's what happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or possibly, it's an alternate, or this is an alternate version of Kingpin.
Ed, do you think it's really weird, right? I had this thought in a shower thought the other day. When in the timeline does this happen? This has to be happening.
It's happening at Christmas.
Well, it's Christmas, right? But it has to be happening prior to the end of Far From Home.
Not necessarily. Because they say it's been a few years since they've seen the Ronin.
Yeah, this is weird then. Unless this movie's in the future.
I would say it's 2-3 years after Endgame ends.
So are we no longer plotting the MCU canonically?
I don't know.
Because the thing that I'm confused about is there's nothing about Peter Parker anywhere in New York, which is...
That's a fair point, considering
how big and large scale that is. There's no...
That would, point me towards this taking place after Far From Home.
Yeah. Yeah, which would then you could circle back and be like, this is why Kingpin was here, and this is why... Yeah, okay. That's kind of crazy.
Especially considering that it comes out mid-series, there could potentially be some sort of tie-in.
Doesn't make sense, though, with the fact that we saw Kingpin in her childhood.
Oh, yeah. I guess there would have always been a Kingpin in this universe.
Yes.
Yes. And that could have always been Vincent D'Onofrio. We could always assume that a Netflix series existed in the MCU.
Which we'll just have to go. Yeah,
initially is what they were telling us.
But yeah, I would be very interested to find out, hopefully in the coming future or somewhere around this, when exactly this takes place in the timeline of, because then that also makes it kind of weird in terms of Kate Bishop and when she's a part of the MCU and her going forward, and I guess we won't be seeing her for some time, or won't be seeing Hawkeye for some time if they're having to let the rest of the movies and stuff catch up to that point. I don't. No. Or we're in another scale of multiverses going nuts.
Multi-times,
this is wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
Yeah, sure, why not?
We're going to start seeing different versions of our same characters in different multiverses.
No. Hawkeye's going to follow the method of Stranger Things and just do holiday events. It's next one's going to be Valentine's Day.
Okay. So we have to wait. Yeah.
Probably a year and a half. And then, 4th of July. Halloween.
Yeah, I guess.
President's Day.
It's an interesting...
They started to lose ideas after the first few.
Yeah, I was going to say that does seem to be it's the same. No, but that audience members, I hope you understand what's going on in the show in terms of the timeline and where Peter Parker is, and is this a multiverse thing?
Who knows?
Because I don't.
That's the exciting thing. You don't know. You need to tune in every week to find out. We'll say I really enjoyed the fight against the Tracksuit Mafia in the actual warehouse. Springing around with all this. What a way to open it with Kate and Hawkeye too. Like them being on those quarter rides. And then just look at Hawkeye on that. Just bringing me joy. Shout out to Imagine Dragons for the shade, I guess, from Kate
Mike,
Bishop.
you know what's really... No, it's
Man, Imagine Dragons is really in pop culture at the moment.
They really are, considering, how heavily they're featured in Arcane. And now Imagine Dragons are 100% confirmed to be part of the MCU.
Yep.
Damn. That's all I can say is just, damn.
I mean, it is who's the asshole in that situation? Between the guy who bought the Imagine Dragon tickets, knowing his girlfriend doesn't like Imagine Dragons, and the girlfriend deciding to take a friend to Imagine Dragons.
I feel like it's taking a friend to Imagine Dragons that you don't like Imagine Dragons, so you're taking... That's even worse, right?
Because nobody likes... Because then nobody going to Imagine Dragons likes Imagine Dragons.
I love Imagine... Actually, I do like Imagine Dragons, I will say that unironically. They're okay. I actually recently listened to the 2012 album Night Visions, and it's still fantastic, so everybody should have a little respect.
Yeah.
And how did you feel about Kate Bishop this episode? Because I loved her. I think there was other than the aforementioned lack of morality of that character being explored, I think, that's the scene with Hawkeye and her and the phone call.
Yes, I was about to bring that up.
Me.
What a...
it killed me. I was like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Like, just in, like, Hailee Steinfeld's acting, like, is, like, her eyes just tearing up at that moment was like, oh, fuck, okay.
Yeah.
This is...
I mean, it has the quintessential Christmas moment of, it's okay if you're not home for Christmas. It's like, that's what every kid says to every busy parent before the parent shows up at Christmas at the last minute. But yeah, that was beautifully put together and, like, you know, so hard to watch to a certain degree. It's like Jeremy, that might be some of Jeremy Renner's best work in, like, the MCU.
And even just the case of, I appreciated that they almost set it up that I was waiting for them to do the trope of Kate walking into the apartment, him not hearing her, and then her somehow spooking him and him, like, being like, oh, I almost attacked you, but I didn't. I'm glad that they didn't go with that and they went for this really intense moment that was... it was really, really kind of... Especially, I was thinking to myself just prior to this moment how much of the opening of this episode was much lighter in kind of tone in many ways. There's a lot more kind of comedic moments and joking around overall. But especially between kind of Hawkeye and Kate, with like Kate not realizing that, like, them having the conversations but Hawkeye not being able to hear anything from the conversations and that layering. This moment was definitely like a gut punch that came out of nowhere a little bit. Yeah,
absolutely. But yeah, I enjoyed a lot of the banter, you know. Kate kind of having to carry the conversation because Hawkeye couldn't. You know, her complaining about every single arrow that was in the bag. Suction cup arrow. It is useful, surprisingly. USB arrow, not so much.
Not so much. I will say, in terms of arrows, this is Ciaran's narrative nitpick of the week, everyone. Hawkeye having a Pym arrow was slightly annoying to me, considering how against sharing Pym tech Hank Pym is, and I guess
I assumed you know, he went raiding their facilities during the blip.
That's okay. All right, you have resolved Ciaran's narrative nitpick for that.
I mean, it's a big step in headcanon that he would, like, I'm going to steal a bunch of Pym tech.
And then be able to
put it in an arrow.
Into an arrow. And then, that's a little bit. And it was a blue one, and it was an enlarging one, which enlarging was only figured out by, like, I guess, jerry-rigged version of the shrinking technology is just putting it in backwards. So it's like, okay,
But
why is this?
no, they
one
had
blue?
the
'Cause
things where they'd throw the things at
They did.
that would
but
enlarge
I
stuff.
don't know.
So
There was, yeah, that's fair. That is fair.
so
I don't know, but
I mean, it made people. I think it was there for comedic effect more than anything else. Like more than
Yes.
making sense from the back end.
and it was a good moment of. It was
It's
a good
cool,
moment
giant
of
arrow.
giant arrow. Kind of at the same time, it's like, damn, you really like. What if you broke the bridge with that arrow? Like, what if the arrow
it's
was
just
too big in it?
Ciaran, it's an arrow. It wasn't going to break anything.
It was a giant arrow. It was really big.
Yeah, but it's still an arrow. It's not going to go through cement. I don't think. It'll go through a massive truck, but don't. Okay. Yeah. Obviously, we end the episode. Hawkeye and Kate Bishop in Kate's house, trying to hack into her security system, and her not doing a good job and getting locked out. And then they come across Jax, who I'm pretty sure is holding the Rogan sword to Hawkeye's face.
He was.
So, that's not going to end well.
Yeah, no. That is definitely an interesting setup for next week. And I think it's nice that we're hopefully diving into more of Jax sooner rather than later.
Well, Ciaran, we're halfway through.
Damn, we are as well. 3 episodes in.
Yeah, there's only 3 episodes left.
We're halfway there. We're living on a prayer,
Whoa.
3 more arrows left in the quiver.
I don't think there was any left in the quiver when they...
Oh,
well, that's not true.
Sorry.
There's all the ones that he pulled away that were too dangerous. So those are the only ones left.
To break down my metaphor, I was saying the episodes remaining, which are
they're arrows.
Remaining. They are arrows.
They're arrows.
Series
Yeah.
as a whole. Arrow. I don't. Look, let's leave the archery jokes and puns to me. Okay? It's really what I've got this all down.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. Anything else from this episode do you want to touch on? I think we covered most of it.
I think we pretty much covered everything. I don't think there's anything too bad.
I don't know if some random lady doctor lady can fix an hearing aid that gets smashed that bad, but
Yeah, no, she was very good at her job.
Give me 5 minutes.
Also, Hawk ear was hilarious.
That was a solid pun. Yeah.
I was like, damn. Also, the throwback conversation about having the giant H on his head for his costume,
yes,
and
that
all being in purple and stuff. I was like,
that's a cool, comeback. But he's right. His wife would definitely divorce him if he was wearing a giant.
Yes,
a giant H on his head.
Which, you know what? It's the whole arc about Kate wanting to re-image him and stuff is really undermined by the fact that all of the principal kind of artwork and material and images for this show have him in a costume.
And
it's
it's not a cool costume. It's not flashy like Captain America or whatever.
No, but it's definitely the costume. So it's kind of like, oh, okay, so he is going
I'll also say, nice touch that it's once purple Play-Doh and then purple smoke,
Yes.
Stay on brand.
Yeah. Staying on brand.
Yeah.
With the purple. Purple's pretty great.
Cool.
I can't wait for more purple to be seen throughout this episode.
Also,
the coming episodes.
Shout out to the star of the show, Jolt, the golden retriever, for smiling when he gets called Pizza Dog.
Yeah. What an actor.
Do
you reckon is that dog actually missing an eye in real life, or is that a CG missing eye?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I'd love to see the casting call for, hey, we're looking for a golden retriever with a missing eye. Or were they just looking for a golden retriever and they found one with a missing eye and they're like, damn, that's quirky, let's get him here.
Just doing a quick Google search.
That's okay, I'll keep riffing. Because I wonder if,
No, it looks like it's a CGI.
You see?
Yeah.
See? CGI.
See. Real amputated leg, not a real missing eye.
We are
wheels and roundabouts.
the facts. We are,
Well, I'm happy about that because I don't want that dog missing an eye. So.
Yeah, exactly. Like we're making sure that the producers on Hawkeye and the casting director is shooting true.
So
with their casting calls and their decisions.
You can check out jolt.of.genius on Instagram to check out Jolt, the golden retriever. All right. Let us know what you thought of this episode of Hawkeye by going to explosion.com/Twitter or jump to our Discord at explosion.com/Discord. If you want to help us out here at All New Marvelcast, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or on Podchaser, or tell people about the show. And if you like this episode, thought it was worth $1, head on over to our Ko-fi page at explosionnetwork.com/support. No, that's not. I'm looking at the wrong notes. Alright, make sure you watch next week's episode of Hawkeye and join us for another All New Marvelcast.